Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Designed and opened just a bit more than 60 years ago, tonight's circuit became known for the quality of its sports car racing that brought the world's best racers to Bowmanville, just 64 kilometers east of Toronto, and laid the foundation for the Can-Am Series. As just the second purpose-built road course in Canada, this 10-turn high-speed circuit that meanders through the countryside for 2.5 miles has been influenced by its first-ever race winner, Sterling Moss, and has played host to not only Can-Am, but Formula One, IMSA, and also NASCAR's Pinty Series. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Mosport, and season number 9 of the Ray Esports Racing League, presented by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg with Jack Ritchie in the commentary booth and Lee Thompson in that virtual production trailer, bringing you all the great views at tonight's action. And for those of you joining us for the very first time tonight, first off, welcome. We've got 4 different classes in the Ray Esports Racing League. We've got the Spec Racer Fords and Spec Miata, as well as 2 touring car classes featuring both the Volkswagen Jetta TDI Cup car in one and the Toyota GR86 Cup car in the other. Each class races 6 times over the course of our 9-week season. And so it's week number 6 here this week, and we've got 2 20-minute sprint races on tap for you. First up is going to be the Spec Miatas, and you can see them on course right now, hopefully, and it's their 4th race of the season, and they're going to be followed by those 2 touring car classes who are going to share the track tonight for their 4th race of the season as well. And if you're looking for some Spec Racer Ford action, have no fear. Rest assured, they will be joining us next week when we head to the National Park of Speed, Road America. So good evening, Jack, and welcome to not Carolina Motorsports Park, but Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Well, welcome back, Greg. We missed you last week.
Thank you so much.
We knew that you were out, and I had to handle all the reading and stuff. I'm glad I don't have to do that again, because
don't be so sure.
I don't have it in front of me, so as long as it's not in front of me, I don't think I'm going to be reading anything.
I guess it's me. So yeah, and Jack, thank you both to you, and also for Morgan Burkhardt for jumping in on real short notice. I haven't had a chance to watch the broadcast, but heard that you guys did a wonderful job. So thank you.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good. It was not as good as it is with you on the mic, but it was pretty good. But yeah, we got some exciting racing going on tonight as we just see the 5. Murphy Nichols take a spill.
Murphy Nichols just smacking the wall there, and he's going to get back underway as our racers are about midway through their 15-minute qualifying session. But let's do this, Jack. speaking of Morgan Burkhardt, why don't we turn things over to him as we do each and every week here, because Morgan, once again, has put together our track guide of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Mosport.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and today we've got the 2.5 mile 10 corner beautiful Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, formerly known as Mosport. It's one of my favorite tracks, one of the most beautiful tracks in North America. Running down to the very fast, very intimidating turn 1. Just going to want to ease the car and clip the curb. It's a little bit banked. You can carry a ton of speed, really being careful about that grass on the exit. It tends to catch out drivers. Plunging down the hill into turn 2, incredibly fast, top of 5th gear in this car, just really wanting to keep the car to the inside so it doesn't rotate out too much. Into turn 3, more fast sweeping corners. You're going to want to focus on the late apex. This track really just does come right back at you on the exit. The grass is lethal, so be on the lookout for people dropping tires on the exits of corners. But come down into the dip, into turn 5, Moss Hairpin, one of my favorite corners in all of North America. Such a balancing act all the way through. It really tightens on the exit, using all the road on the exit as you possibly can, but down this long, really not very straight, it's uphill, so getting a good run out of Moss Corner, the most important corner on this track, is vital. This is coming up into the next corner is one of the best passing zones on this track. It's where you're going to be getting all of your moving done. So it's, like I said, it's very important to get a good run out of Moss Corner. Into these fast, sweeping penultimate corners, just want to balance the car all the way through, keeping it tight, using these curbs to your advantage, getting the weight transfer right. Again, curbs on the entrance and at the apex of the corners to get it rotated. Coming through the final corner, grass comes up again on the exit, and there you have a completed lap of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
All right, so thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Jack, you know, as we were just discussing while Morgan was giving the track guide here, we're seeing a lot of these racers here, both in practice before we went on air and in qualifying right now, really having trouble coming to grips with the rapid changes in direction here, as well as, you know, the massive camber changes. And as we watch now, Beans Forster in that 231 machine, you can see how much correction he had to dial in just coming out of turn 5 or turn 4 going into the Moss Hairpin.
Yeah, that was something we did talk about in the pre-race a lot before we got on air, was the amount of transfer that we have at this track, because the left-hand, right-handed corners are kind of severe, but like some of them are really big and slow and slidey, and they tend to be tougher in these slower cars, as you can hear the tires squealing even in these corners right here. So you can only imagine what it's going through the first couple of corners on this track.
Yeah, and you know, and certainly, you know, as pretty much all season long, our racers have been complaining about the amount of grip on the opening laps in these Mazda MX-5s. I think we're going to need to buckle up and get ready, because it's going to be an exciting, at least first couple laps. But let's do this here as we're now about 11 minutes into this 15-minute qualifying session, Jack. And Morgan Burkhardt is currently your provisional pole sitter with a provisional qualifying time of 1:31.48. That's about just a touch under 4/10 up on his Delta Sport teammate, Giancarlo Schooler. Wanchi Lin, want to welcome Wanchi Lin back to the league in the number 30 machine, currently your third fastest driver on track. Only 0.03 of a second off of Schooler's times than Beans Forster and Skip Brock. But let's quickly take a look at and maybe give a little look back to last week at Summit Point Raceway, when our MX-5s raced in their third race of the season. And with Morgan Burkhardt up in the booth with you, Giancarlo Schooler took the win with Murphy Nichols in that white number 5 machine, working his way from 8th position up to second place, and Beans Forster came home with the bronze, finished in 3rd, with Miles Crabb finishing 4th, and Nagase Yoshikawa starting 10th, rounded out the top 5. And if we take a look at the point standings in Spec Miata here after 3 rounds, Beans Forster currently your leader with 62 points, Miles Crabb with 55, so 7 points back from our leader. Then Morgan Burkhardt, he is 20 points back from Beans Forster, and I guess we should take some responsibility for that, putting him to booth duty last week. Megan Overstreet only a single point back from Morgan with 41 points, and then we've got Josh Justice, another 4 points back from there at 37, another 4 back to Reed Shannabrook, and pretty tight running there in the Spec Miatas. Also, real quick, as we've got about 2 minutes remaining in qualifying, let's quickly look at our Spec Racer Fords, because they are not going to be racing here this week. Taking the win, Beans Forster with Josh Soto, Miles Crabb finishing in third, with Megan Overstreet and Skip Rock Jr. rounding out the top 5 on track. Skip Rock Jr. currently your points leader in Spec Racer Ford with 71 points. He's got a 7-point advantage over Josh Soto, with Miles Crabb 2 points back from there, and Megan Overstreet currently 4th in the point standings in the championship, just a single point back from Crabb with 61, and then another 9 points back to Josh Justice, who rounds out the top 5. Morgan Burkhardt, who was your champion in Spec Racer Ford last season, currently sitting 6th in the championship, 21 points out of the lead. As we're on board right now, watching as we watch the 077 machine of Michael Snow run a little wide out of the final corner, watching Corey Heffron, and I believe this is one of Corey's first outings with us here in the Ray Esports Racing League. Jack currently running 12th in qualifying, fastest time for him right now, the 133.87 that he just turned in, and it's about 600ths of a second off of Yoshikawa's times in 11th. So definitely looking to move up here, as we've got about half a minute remaining, and you tell me, Jack, that's typically not the way to reset your fast lap, as he bounces off the tire walls there.
Yeah, unless you know something that I don't. Yeah, that's not the way to do it. I think he made his debut with us last week, actually, while you were gone, and he ran pretty well from what I believe. I think he ran back half of the top 10, but in a really tough field like this, I mean, that's really saying something. I think we had around 20 cars, too, so you finished 10th in this race, and it should feel like a win in most other races.
Yeah, Corey Heffron, he finished 15th last week in what was actually, I think we had more than 20 cars. I think we had 22 cars in the field. So good run for Corey in his first outing in the Ray Esports Racing League. Welcome, and hopefully he'll be able to keep all 4 wheels on the gray stuff here tonight. As we're watching now, this is Murphy Nichols, who just completed his last flying lap. And Murphy put in a 132.78. That's good for 6th here in qualifying. As he's trying to get a little bit of extra little track time here before the service boots them out to go to the grid, just like Megan Overstreet here in the pink 044 machine, pink and purple. And that right there is going to be the pain point, Jack, I think, for most of our racers. It is in the higher horsepower cars, will likely be here as well, and that is the Moss hairpin, that double apex right-hander. You come through the first one, and it's like rising up, and you go up a little rise. You end up on a tabletop, having to then get the car rotated for the second half of the corner, and it's something that the drivers for years have been challenged with, trying to get that car woed down enough to make the second right-hander, because it's so critical. It's one of the slowest corners. It's actually the slowest corner on the course, and it leads onto that one long straightaway, the Andretti straightaway.
Yeah, and it kind of tricks you too, because you think you can maybe make a pass there, and you think it's a passing opportunity, but then you throw it in there, and then before you know it, you both are connecting coming off the corner, because it's just it gets narrow very, very quickly.
Very quickly, exactly. And that is I think probably not a good place to pass. Much like if you tried to pass somebody going into Oak Tree at VIR, or maybe turn 7 at Road Atlanta coming onto the back straight. but at the very end of the Andretti straightaway, going into turn 8, that first right-hander, that's the place, man. If you can carry speed out of the Moss hairpin, you're going to be set up to get them going into turn 8. So let's do this. Let's take a look at the starting order, Jack, here at Mosport at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park for Spec Miata.
Already on row 1, we got Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler starting second. Starting third, we have Juan Chi Lin, and starting fourth, we have Beans Forrester. Fifth, we have Skip Brock Jr., and sixth, Murphy Nichols. Row 4 is Andrew Rosencroft and Megan Overstreet. Row 5 is Joshua Justice and Caleb Pocock, and row 6 is Nagasiya Yoshikawa and Corey Heffron. Starting in row 7 is Rich Green and Michael Snow. Row 8 is Wayne Buttermore and Joaquin Effinger, and rounding out the field, Mark Sherman and Miles Crabb, who I don't think is racing.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he joins in. We're still waiting for Yoshikawa and Crabb to join the grid. You can see that that one opening there in the right-hand lane, which just got filled, as Nagasiya Yoshikawa put some fuel in the car, and still waiting to see if Miles Crabb comes in. And looks like we've got one driver might be having some connectivity issues there, kind of blinking in and out as the pace car gets underway, and going to start this pace lap here, a 2.5-mile 10-turn Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And as they do, let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's first race. You can see their logo there up in the right-hand corner of your screen. It's Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. Built for the true sports car enthusiast, Grassroots Motorsports has one mission, and that's to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, the racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports, take you behind the scenes and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. And they also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars, because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind a desk, they're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of the story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And here, Jack, you can watch as they're behind the pace car now, making their way down this this sweeping hill. Just all the huge elevation changes that we have here, as you come out of 3, rock down the hill, slide back up into 4, and then over to the Moss corner, the Moss hairpin, that double apex right-hander. So many of these corners, even in the MX-5s, you have to, you're turning in on faith. Morgan said in his track guide that many of them are very late apexes, and I think a lot of that has to do with, frankly, because they're blind. If you turn in early, you're going to run out of track. But so many of them, you can't really spot where you need to turn in. You just kind of have to wait and wait and wait until basically the track in the next corner appears in your eyes.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that variation of Sonoma that we ran a few weeks ago. It's just very technical, and the ups and downs and everything like that, the elevation changes. So I mean, that's what it kind of reminds me of. I'm not sure if that's spot on, but
I think it's pretty darn accurate. Here is the pace car now on the pit lane, Jack, and Burkhardt has the field as they come down the front straight. Looked like Beans Forster was giving a little push to Giancarlo Schooler to get through the final corner, and green flag is in the air, and we're racing here Canadian style at Mosport at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, as Giancarlo Schooler jumps ahead of Beans Forster in the second. He's going to shift over to driver's right ahead of Juan Chi Lin. Oh, and going off into the grass and into the wall, that's Josh Justice, and I believe that is Wayne Buttermore in the pink 73 machine that has gone off as well. And I'll tell you, if Josh Justice didn't have bad luck on opening laps, he just wouldn't have any at all in the Spec Miatas. He's had some wild rides, Jack, over a number of different rounds this season.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe see a replay on that, but I mean, we were talking about how lap 1 was going to be all about tiptoeing your way through the first few corners because of the cold tires, and I think it's going to be like that for probably the first lap and a half or 2 laps while these tires get warmed up, so that might not be the last incident that we see.
No, and there we go. If you take a look there on the left-hand side of your screen, Wan Chi Lin in that blue and orange number 30 machine, side by side with Murphy Nichols. That is the battle for 4th position right now. Skip Brock Jr. in the yellow and blue number 68 directly behind as they make the run down Andretti and go into turn number 8. And Wan Chi Lin gets the pass done on Nichols, and Skip Brock Jr. gets around Murphy Nichols as well. So move Nichols now back into 5th position as they come through the S's here through turns 9 and 10 and onto the front straight. Oh, we've got another driver that's gone around. That's Caleb Pocock.
Yeah, Caleb's luck, just like you mentioned, Joshua Justice's luck just has had no luck in the Ray Esports Series this season, but hopefully both of them can turn it around in the race later tonight and next week as well.
All right, as our top 3 racers now heading down through turn number 2 through Clayton Corner, running into now a right-hander that's going to send them back up a hill here, turn number 3. And great fight there up in front as we watch now. This is Skip Brock Jr., who we just saw a few moments ago move up into 5th position. He now drops back down into 10th. I wonder if we can find out what happened to Skip.
Yeah, it looks like he has a little bit of right front damage too, so he might have made contact with someone or a wall, which is pretty easy to do here at Mosport for sure.
Yeah, and you can see there, coming out of Moss, how little runoff room there is on the sides of the track this far up. You don't expect there to be issues with especially with the Miatas and what is a fairly wide track surface for them. But so many of these other corners, you can slide down a hill sideways, and they are such high-speed corners that once you get to that grass, the next thing you're going to see, the next thing you're going to feel is usually a barrier as our top 3 come through the final corner through turn 10 and onto the front straight where they're going to complete lap number 2 and do it all over again. Again, these are 20-minute sprint races to the checkered flag. Morgan Burkhardt currently your leader with Schooler and Beans Forster, and now Wan Chi Lin, he's joined that party as well up at the front with a fairly significant gap back to Murphy Nichols and Megan Overstreet, currently running 5th and 6th.
Yeah,
All right, let's take a look. I think we've got queued up now, and this might give us some information about what happened to Skip Brock Jr., and I think he might have gotten involved with Pocock. Well, Pocock, you can see, just got very loose going through turn 9, and there we see as Skip Brock Jr. gets loose as well on the exit of the final corner and clouts the pit wall on the front straight, and that's how he lost not only a lot of ground, but bent up some body work as well.
Yeah, and right before that replay, I was going to mention that Lynn, that last lap, ran a 131.7. He's the only one in that 131 bracket, so he's catching these guys without the draft, so it's going to be telling to see if he can pass them as well, because I don't know if that's going to be as easy as he makes a move to the inside. Oh, thought better of it.
At least 2nd place, and they're going to start it all over again. And Burkhardt, he's managed with some of that fighting to open up about maybe a 2-car length advantage over Schooler. I'll bet by the time they get back to Moss, that lead is going to go away. Oh, and Murphy Nichols, talk about hard hits into the wall. Well, that was a hard hit into the wall.
Yeah, it looked like he got really loose right out of the corner of my eye. I saw it, but I didn't want to interrupt you. And look, he just went around and slammed the wall really hard. Man, what an impact.
Yeah, and you go down, you go in through turn 1, and you can get very loose. And certainly, as you reverse direction and make the left-hander through turn 2, same thing there. And looks like Murphy got it wrong. And Burkhardt having some issues on the exit of the Moss hairpin.
Yeah, Beans did as well. I think he kind of a little bit of monkey see, monkey do on that one.
And we'll have to see if that affects the exit speed of Burkhardt here. But now Beans Forster moving to driver's left on Giancarlo Schooler. Going to challenge him going into 8. Remember, if Forster can get around going into 8, he'll have inside position going to 9. And Forster drives right on by the 111 car to move Giancarlo Schooler back into 3rd.
Like Corey Heffron up to 7th. He's up 5 places from 12th so far, so he's having a good night. Just avoiding the incidents, it looks like, and staying out of trouble. That's what you got to do, as he's try and chase down Yoshikawa in 6th.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said for that strategy, which is to maybe play it a little safe, because as we're seeing, as you're up at the front, towards the front of the pack, Jack, that some of the aggressive driving from some of our racers that admittedly we expect it from them, leads to being able to pick up some easy positions and pick up some easy points. And Heffron, that's a great start for him, again, having finished 15th in his very first outing last week at Summit Point Raceway, currently now up into 7th, having started 12th, as our leaders coming through the Moss hairpin once again and onto the back straight. And let's see now, Wanchi Lin, the trailing car in this group of 4, got a great run out of the hairpin. Let's see if he can do the same thing to Giancarlo Schooler that Beans Forster did a lap before.
He's going to be able to do it as we have a battle up front for the lead, as well as they make contact a little bit as well. I don't know if this is the place to be doing all that. My goodness.
There we go. So Forster, as we talk about being aggressive, Forster now side by side with Burkhardt going through turn 9 and into the final corner, into turn 10. Burkhardt, for the time being, is going to hold him off. Wanchi Lin did get around Giancarlo Schooler, and Lin had the advantage. He was using the draft off the back of Beans Forster, as Forster was trying to make that advance on our leader Morgan Burkhardt, and then Lin, and also Schooler for that matter, had to check up when there was that contact between our 2 front runners.
Yeah, I think the one to watch is Lin for sure. It seems like he has the pace that these other 3 may not have as much as he does, so it'll be interesting to see if he can make the moves and if he could pull away, if he was able to get the lead, because so far Morgan hasn't been able to do that, which he did for a lap there or so, and then had that little slip in this corner up here, as a matter of fact, and since then he really hasn't been able to pull away.
No, not at all. All right, I'll tell you what, Jack, let's take a look at, and maybe you could pick it up from here, as Murphy Nichols. This was just, I guess, 2 laps ago going into turn 1.
Yeah, he looks good right here, and it looks like he ran a little bit wide and tried to overcorrect and slam right into the wall. Oof. Yep, that's really easy to do, and that overcorrect in these things it's really easy to do on this track too, because you're already transferring all that weight. As we come back to see the battle, as Lin looks like he's going in on Forrester for the lead right here. I don't know what happened, but it got crazy up here all of a sudden.
Yeah, it did, coming into the S's there along the long back straight of the Andretti straight, probably the Andretti straight. As we had Beans Forster get around Morgan Burkhardt and Wanchi Lin battling for the lead as well. But now Morgan Burkhardt battles back, gets around the 231 machine to retake the lead, and somehow Wanchi Lin, who just a moment ago was in a position to take the lead himself, finds himself back in 4th position.
Yeah, I think he got caught on that outside line going in the last corner and going into 1, and that can't really make it happen right there, as Morgan looks like he slips and he's going to fall back to 4th now. Wow, what a battle.
Yeah, as Burkhardt runs wide as they come through turn number 3 through Quebec corner, and they're now going to make that rise up to the tabletop over into the Moss hairpin. Beans Forster's your leader with Giancarlo Schooler, then Wanchi Lin running in 3rd, and maybe looks like both Forster and Schooler got a little better jump than our 3rd and 4th place racers. We'll see, though. Again, this long straightaway kind of makes up for all those evils in many cases going into the hairpin, as Giancarlo Schooler kind of getting hung out to dry here. As Morgan Burkhardt looks over and thinks, oh, maybe I'll help Schooler back up, and I think Burkhardt realized that wasn't the horse, and he gets back behind Wanchi Lin.
Yeah, and they're catching a lapped car up here too, so that might be getting a little interesting as well. I'm sure the lapped car won't be an issue. It's just they have to navigate around him, and a course like this where there's not very many places to pass, and these 4 are already nose to tail, it could present a little bit of a problem, so we'll have to see.
All right, so we're now working lap number 8. Your leader, Beans Forster, with Wanchi Lin, Morgan Burkhardt, and Giancarlo Schooler. We're just past halfway in this 20-minute sprint race. And currently running in 5th position, Megan Overstreet, but she is a very distant 7 seconds back. She does have a good little fight going on with Nagase Yoshikawa and Corey Heffron starting to make up some ground, but our top 4 drivers, they are making it 3 wide here on the run down over towards the hairpin again, but Beans Forster currently your leader.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if Wan Chi-Lin is kind of just toying with these guys a little bit, because it seems like he gets up to 2nd or 3rd and then he lets them go and then he does it again. So I wonder if he's kind of holding his cards close to his chest and really not showing what speed he really has.
And Schooler going and trying to give the push to his Delta Sport teammate Morgan Burkhardt as they now come under, braking into turn number 8. Quick brush of the brakes pushes Burkhardt to the lead. Schooler, though, falls off the outside. Wan Chi-Lin picks up the position, so moves Schooler from 2nd back to 4th as they come into the final corner to complete lap number 8. And here's that other battle, Jack, I was talking about. We had Megan Overstreet, who just a few moments ago had been running in 5th position with Corey Heffron and Nagase Yoshikawa in very close proximity, and it looks like she's now lost out to both Yoshikawa and Heffron, pardon me, now sits back in 7th.
Yeah, luckily for her, the next car behind her is another 7 seconds, so I think she's going to be okay, and she might be able to keep up with Yoshikawa and Heffron too. Maybe she just, got the tires a little hot or something like that. But Heffron's doing a really good job. I mean, he's up to P6. That's up 6 positions from where he started, and these 4 are still battling, and he might pick up a few more if they get to racing a little too hard. We still have almost 7 minutes left. I mean, that's, 5 or 6 laps? That's quite a bit of time.
And Burkhardt back in the lead with Beans Forster now, and they've opened up perhaps maybe a 2-car length advantage. But if Beans Forster is going to challenge for the lead here going into turn 8, well, we're going to see Schooler and Wan Chi-Lin come right back up to our leaders. And there you go, Forster gets it done quickly, and takes the lead, retakes the lead here as they come into the S's. We'll see if Burkhardt has a response for that, but I think we're probably going to end up waiting perhaps an entire lap to see him come into the S's the next time before we see a reprisal.
Yeah, because I mean, there's not really anywhere for these guys to pass up here. I mean, this corner that we're coming up on is really long and sweeping, and just you hope you don't slip or touch the grass, or as we saw earlier with Justice, just barely hit the curb and overcorrect. That's something you don't want to do, especially when you're in a battle like this. But I think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that the couple of corners that we have up here, the slowest corners that we talked about, I feel like that's really where it sets up for that pass on the long backstretch, and it doesn't really seem like many of these 4 have gotten through it cleanly, like very often. It seems like one lap they'll do it, and the next lap they don't.
And you can see there multiple brake corrections from Forster to get out of the hairpin as they're going to be coming up again on some slower traffic. That is, I believe, right ahead of them. That's actually the Justice car directly ahead of them as they come down the straight, which is going to make things 4 wide or 3 wide at the moment. And there we go, Forster and Burkhardt side by side as they come down into 8. Schooler and Wan Chi-Lin side by side as they come into 8, go under braking. And let's see here as they come out. And as they do, it is Morgan Burkhardt. He takes the lead over Beans Forster. Wan Chi-Lin now gets ahead, and only by a couple of millimeters, over Giancarlo Schooler as they come down into turn 1. Okay, so as they are now making their way down the hill, down into turns 2, it's Burkhardt. He's got about a half a car length advantage now over Forster. Forster, though, taking a look to the inside as they come up the hill through 3, and they're going to be getting set up for the hairpin once again. Wan Chi-Lin running in 3rd position with Giancarlo Schooler now as they make that run down the back straight here, and it is definitely extremely tight as these racers now with 4 minutes remaining starting to get very much, they're starting to amp up the aggression level here, Jack.
Yeah, I think that saying the least. These guys are definitely doing that. They've been racing aggressive the whole race, but I think coming down to these last couple minutes is going to be very, very interesting to see if you want to lead or not. I think that's the biggest thing, right? Do you want to be the leader on that backstretch?
All right, so we understand we're having some issues with the stream right now and with the video feed from the virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We're going to try and keep you up to date on exactly what is going on. And here at the front of the pack, it is Beans Forster now, your leader, as they come out of the final corner, out of turn 10 onto the front straight. And Beans has now opened up about a 3-car length, actually about a 4-car length advantage over Burkhardt as they start to roll down through turn 1. Wan Chi Lin and Giancarlo School are still battling it out for that 3rd position, as I think hopefully we may have our feed back for you, and indeed we do. And here they come now through turn 3, through Quebec corner, and they're going to make the run down the hill and then up towards the they're going to roll down here through 4 and then come on back up over towards the Moss hairpin. But Beans Forster now with just 2 minutes remaining. Oh, and Forster runs wide going into the first section of the hairpin. That's going to allow Burkhardt through. Wan Chi Lin, is he close enough to take advantage? He does not get the run that he wants. Forster comes right back across his nose to cover, but that's going to give Giancarlo Schooler the advantage as they come down the straight and head towards turn 8.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Wan Chi Lin pushing Beans is kind of hurting him right here, because Giancarlo had a massive run on him, and it looks like he still does as he's side by side, more side by side everywhere for the lead and for 3rd, as these guys are all slipping.
Wow, look at this. And Forster had the inside position going into 8. He sneaks ahead of Morgan Burkhardt with Wan Chi Lin there sitting in 3rd. But that was a saving grace, literally a saving grace for Beans Forster, who got it all kinds of wrong going into the Moss hairpin, as our racers now have just a touch over 1.25 minutes remaining. And I think we are now on the last lap here from Mosport.
Yeah, I saw the flagman waving the white flag right under the tunnel there, it looked like, and these guys are all battling so hard. Like we talked about right before our outage there for a second, do you want to be the leader on the backstretch? Because I'm not really sure if I do, and I'm not sure if Beans is in the position that he wants to be, so I guess we'll see. And he doesn't need to mess this corner up again like he did last lap for sure.
Well, here they go up into the hairpin for the last time as we're on board with Giancarlo Schooler, and Forster manages to hold on as they come out. But you're right, this is where I think Morgan Burkhardt wants to be. It's in 2nd, be able to use that draft. Now Beans Forster, he's putting on the weave, trying to break that draft. And Burkhardt, though, now moves over to the side. Wan Chi Lin is going to make it 3 wide as they come around the final little curve, heading up towards turn number 8 and into the S's. Burkhardt in the middle, Beans Forster to driver's right. They are still side by side as they come through 8. And with the long way around Wan Chi Lin, he's going to fall back now alongside of Giancarlo Schooler and through the final corner onto the front straight. Beans Forster, can he hold off Morgan Burkhardt? It's a short run to the finish line, and at the line, taking the win here for Mosport in Spec Miata, it's Beans Forster. Margin of victory, 62 thousandths of a second. We're going to drop back a little bit further here as Corey Heffron, he's going to work his way all the way up in the 5th position. He holds off Megan Overstreet. So Corey Heffron, he started in 12th. He finishes in 5th. Megan Overstreet, she'll finish 6th. Nagase Yoshikawa comes home in 7th. Michael Snow in 8th. Andrew Wozencroft will finish 9th. Rich Green will finish 10th. Then Mark Sherman, Joaquin Effinger, Josh Justice, and I believe Wayne Buttermore is running at the end. And there's Mark Sherman in the 18 car crossing the line just outside of the top 10 in 11th. Wow, what a finish there, Jack. What a finish.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best finishes I've ever seen at this track for sure. That ended up not in a wreck. There's been some NASCAR finishes here that have been insane, but they ended in fights and wrecking and all that. But we didn't have that tonight.
No, look, we were 3 wide going into the S's on the very last lap, and somehow these racers made it work. Let's do this. Let's bring in our second place finisher tonight, Inspect Miata, driving the number 40 machine, Morgan Burkhardt.
Well, Morgan, you got to come back to this racing thing after a few weeks in the booth. Walk us through your race tonight.
That was mental. I mean, from the beginning, it was kind of like, let's just all kind of bump draft, run away a little bit. I was gapping a little bit on the field, but the back straight, the draft there is just so incredibly powerful. But I guess about like halfway through the race, the gloves just started to, they didn't even get dropped. They got like high pressure ejected, and we just started dicing, and it was so much fun. Just kind of not really caring about anybody that was around us and just going at it hammer and tong. But I was regretting going past Beans at Moss on the penultimate lap, and then I was very happy that he drafted by going down the Andretti straight. But 3 wide with Wanchi into the S's. I'm surprised we all came out of there okay on the final lap, but Beans carried a really good run through the S's and into whites, so he did a wonderful job to hold on to that win.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the move that Wan Chi made to make it 3 wide, because you're sitting there battling Beans, and then all of a sudden to your left, you're like, oh, there's another car that I have to deal with as well, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I had to pop out a little earlier than I wanted to so that I didn't get boxed in. But yeah, we carried 3 wide into the corner, and it ended up sticking on the back end. So very, very happy about that, and I'm sure it was as much fun to watch as it was to drive.
Oh yeah, for sure. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank this week?
I'd like to thank Beans, JC, and Wanchi for being all clean as ever, making it really fun for us to just go out and have fun, have a great race, and Stevie and Greg for setting up the league and making it all real fun for us.
Alrighty, well, we'll see you in the next one later on tonight.
See ya.
All right, there you go, everybody. Morgan Burkhardt. Let's now move over to our winner, Inspect Miata, driving the 231 machine and margin of victory. I think, what did we say? 63 thousandths of a second. Beans Forster.
Beans, how? Just walk us through that race, because there's really not many words that we could, say to the viewers on how that racing was, because it was insane.
I did not expect to win that. When I came across the start-finish and I was leading, I thought I was going to finish 4th. I thought everyone was just going to run a train past me going down the back straight. But then when Morgan popped out, I tried to squeeze him a little bit, and then Wanchi popped out to the left of him. So I knew I had somewhat of a shot.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about like where you wanted to be on that last lap, and we did not think we wanted to be you, which was the leader at the time. So if you could, I guess you don't have to redo it again, but if you had your choice, would you want it to be the leader, or you want to be the guy in second?
I know leading at that part on the last lap is not good, especially in these cars, but I pulled it off somehow, and so I'm happy with that.
All right. Well, is anybody that you'd like to thank this week?
I just want to thank you guys, thank all the drivers, Full 7 Sims, and T. Watson Racing.
Alrighty, well, thank you, Beans, and we will see you later on tonight.
Yeah, see you guys.
All right, there you go. Beans Forster, driver of the 231 Mazda Miata, and he said it there, Jack. He did not want to be in the lead, but somehow he made it work. All right, so let's do this. Let's take a quick little break, and thank some of our partners and sponsors that are bringing you the action here tonight on Apex Racing TV. And when we come back, we're going to have our touring cars, our Jettas and our Toyota GR86s here from CTMP, where you're watching the Esports Racing League's season number 7. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Mosport, for the Ray Esports Racing League. And I think I said it was season 7 before. It's season 9. We've been around a couple extra seasons. I'm Greg Ginsberg, along with Jack over here and Jack Ritchie. And let's take a look here now. Out on track for qualifying are our touring cars, the Volkswagen Jettas, known as the Touring 4 class, and then the GR86 Cup cars, the T3 class. By the way, I wanted to welcome, and I swear he's everywhere I go, Russ Lundberg, who is based out of Washington State, a Sports Car Club of America flagger. Every single broadcast I do, whether it's iRacing or whether it's real life, he's there stalking me in the chat. Hi, Russ. Glad to have you. Glad to have you aboard. As we are now just only about 5 minutes into the qualifying session here, and there you go. Caleb Pocock, currently your fastest driver in the GR86s in the T3 class, and we just saw him get it all kinds of wrong there, Jack.
Yeah, that's a little bit of underestimation what he did, but that's okay. Still the provisional pole sitter for the moment. That's gonna be a dandy little race I think we got there. Even though it's only 4 cars, I think that's going to be pretty tough, but I think that we needed that break just as much as the audience did after that last race.
Yes, we did.
That was wild.
Definitely needed some time to breathe there. Again, congratulations to our not only our podium finishers, but the top 4 drivers in Spec Miata last race. Beans Forster taking the win, Morgan Burkhardt finishing in 2nd. Then we had Giancarlo Schooler finishing in 3rd, and Wan Chi Lin rounding out the top 4. But great finish. And now when we move over to the touring cars, and especially as we watch this rather large Jetta field, the T4 cars here, Jack, where, and we've talked about this before, the challenge with the Jettas is getting them to rotate for these corners. This is a track that it may not be all that difficult. We did see when Morgan Burkhardt was giving the track guide for us tonight, he was doing it from the Jetta. You could tell because, well, you couldn't hear anything but the tires squealing. But you're helped a lot here by the camber. And perhaps the one place where it is going to be a challenge and is going to be very difficult here is coming up to the Moss hairpin and trying to get that car rotated around so that you can get a straight shot and be able to power out onto the Andretti straight.
Yeah, I think the hairpin's going to be even more difficult than usual because you're probably going to slow down more than you even think you need to. I mean, these guys just came out of the Miatas, and they were kind of flying through the corners fairly quickly, and then they jump over to these Jettas, and they're going to be going so slow, like a snail almost, compared to even the Toyotas in here as well. I mean, the Toyotas may have a little bit of difficulty as well, but not as nearly as much as the Jettas are going to have.
Yeah, and we saw Burkhardt there going into the Andretti hairpin where he used the curbing at the apex of the second corner at 5B to actually get the car to rotate. And that is, I think, the best plan of action for the Jettas. I don't know if that is necessarily what you want to do with the Toyotas because they've got all of that extreme weight transfer, the very soft springing, and we've seen at other tracks where some tall curbs can send that car up in some cases onto 2 wheels and in many cases around into a wall.
Yeah, and you mentioned him hopping the curbing and kind of using that to turn better. It almost reminds me of in rallycross, like when they have the dirt and the asphalt, you kind of want to put a tire in the dirt to help it turn a little bit. That may be something that what they'll have to do in the Jettas as well, is something like that to help it turn a little bit better, because this car is, I mean, it's like a regular compact car that you see on the highway. It's about how it drives too and how it sounds. So just imagine people at home, you're just driving your everyday car on a racetrack like this as hard as you can. It's not going to be easy.
No. Well, that's a good way to get your car to rotate, is you have your teammate going back, go right into your rear bumper and give you a little bump draft just as you're trying to get the car rotated around to go into Moss. Maybe that's the way to do it. As Giancarlo Schooler using the draft of Morgan Burkhardt. Schooler currently qualified 3rd in the Volkswagens in the Touring 4 class, and I think he's hoping, in working with Burkhardt here, to maybe get pulled up to the front row ahead of Skip Brock Jr. We'll see here as they come into the S's, and maybe got a little bit more slip angle there on the 111 car than he had anticipated. But let's see as they come out of the final corner and cross the line, what do Burkhardt and Schooler turn in? Burkhardt has a 133.74, not quite his fastest lap, and Giancarlo Schooler, he turns in his fastest lap of the session at a 134.29, but it is not enough to move up to the front row, so they're going to try it all over again.
And did you see how much those tires were smoking right there going through the last few corners?
All right, so let's take a look here, Jack, at, we'll go back the last time the touring cars raced. It wasn't last week at Summit Point. It was 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. In the GR86 Cup cars, the Touring 3 class, Miles Crabb started on pole. He was your winner. Caleb Pocock finished in second, having started fifth. Mark Sherman started sixth and came home in third. And then it was Wayne Buttermore, John Wilson, and Brian McRae. If we take a look at the point standings now after 3 rounds, and again tonight is round number 4 for both of these classes. Miles Crabb, currently your points leader. He's got a 22-point advantage over Caleb Pocock, who is in second with 52 points. It's then only 3 back to John Wilson. And is Wilson here tonight? I don't believe he is. So this may end up being a drop for John Wilson. Wilson has 49 points. And then Wayne Buttermore, currently sitting 4th in the point standings, and he's currently 4th. Well, that was probably the wrong time to look at Buttermore as he brought the car around, hit the pit wall. But Buttermore currently 4th fastest driver on track in the Toyotas and 4th in the point standing as well. He's only 1 point back from Wilson. And then Beans Forster, who is currently your fastest Toyota driver in qualifying, currently 5th in the championship standings. If we move over to the Jettas, wow, and there's a ride for Michael Snow, and he's going to try and get that gathered back up over at turn 8. And that, I'll tell you, as much as the Mazdas, that turn 8 was a passing opportunity, that is one place that the Jettas are going to have to be very wary, Jack, and very careful, because if they go and run too wide there for the driver that's on the outside, driver's left, it's going to be very hard to get that car rotated. And I think we've seen it all night long in practice and here in qualifying, where the drivers just in the Jettas just push wide off the edge of the track over in turn 8. But let's take a look here. 2 weeks ago at the Glen, Jamison Huffman was your winner in the Jettas. Started on pole and took the checkered flag. Megan Overstreet started right beside Jamison in second. She came home in second. Margin of victory for Huffman, though, was over 12 seconds. And Overstreet was able to hold off Jacob Schilling. Schilling finishing third. Trenton Kramer fourth. Deacon Greenfield finishes in 5th position. If we take a look at the championship standings, it is Megan Overstreet, currently your championship leader with 53 points. Morgan Burkhardt with 50, just 3 points back. Another 4 back to Michael Snow, who we saw there just a few moments ago. And then another 5 back to Trenton Kramer, who has 41 points. Caleb Patry, who I don't believe is with us here tonight, currently sitting 5th in the championship with 40. As we're watching now, Seth Spolman in that yellow number 42 machine. I think I say it every single week, but Seth checking in from Seoul, South Korea, where he just picked up the equivalent of the Lotus Elan, the small convertible that I think was primarily designed. I know it had an Isuzu drivetrain, a Lotus built suspension, and in Korea it was actually manufactured by Kia and has Kia badging on it, known as the Kia Elan, and he picked one up there as a daily driver. So he had been actually trying to search out and find that car before he ever moved from the United States with his family over to Korea. So And hopefully we'll get some more information on that car at some point as we're back now watching Morgan Burkhardt. He is your provisional pole sitter in the Volkswagens, as we've got now only 30 seconds left on the clock. And he's been working to pull Giancarlo Schooler around with him, and I think he finally got the job done there, Jack.
Yeah, it looked like Giancarlo finally got that lap that he wanted and moved up to P2. Was able to pass Skip Brock for that outside pole, I guess you could call it. And so with a few seconds left, I'm not sure where Skip Brock is on the track, if he even is out there trying to put in a last lap. Oh, he's right here. I'm not sure if he's going to
right
make
behind,
it.
Right behind the rabbits that he's trying to catch up to.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him to come back around and get another lap and try to beat his time. But if he can, he might have a shot, but I'm not sure.
All right, well, we've hit that 15-minute mark. Checkered flag should be out. And, well, it looks like it looks like, wow, that was some airtime for Skip Brock Jr. I was going to say he calls off his last flying lap and maybe tried to launch the car over towards Niagara Falls.
I think he knew a shortcut that we didn't know about, and that's what he was trying to do. It just didn't work out that time.
All right, and there's Megan Overstreet, our championship leader, clouding one of the walls there on her last flying lap, and now we're seeing everybody go wide there. Nagase Yoshikawa taking the checkered flag on his last session as well. All right, so as we get ready, we're going to have our drivers start to grid up here, Jack. Why don't we talk first about one of our two sponsors for tonight's second race, and that's the Common Gear. The Common Gear is your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records, from photos of maintenance and restoration work to scans of receipts. Users can easily catalog every piece of the car's story. Digitize or scan and back up securely in one location, and document your diagnostic and repair processes, because it's as important as the work itself. With the Common Gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts and experts you use. The parts and experts you use, all the aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service and repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at www.thecommongear.com, or you can find them on Instagram at _Common Gear.
Third, and Wayne Buttermore fourth, and Cody Heffron, who came off that top 5 in the last race that we saw tonight, starting in 5th. Now for the T4s, we have Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler on the front row, followed by Skip Brock Jr. and Jacob Schilling starting 3rd and 4th. Starting 5th, we have Juan Chang Lin and Seth Spolman. And starting 7th, we have Megan Overstreet. Starting 8th, Michael Snow. Row 5, we have Nagase Yoshikawa and Derek Marcos. Row 6, Gary Winters and Joshua Justice. And in row 7, if they do grid up, we have Murphy Nichols and Joaquin Effinger.
All right, there you go. There's your starting grid for tonight's touring car race. And let's talk about our second sponsor of tonight's action here from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That's Grass Paddock Motorsports. Grass Paddock provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. And GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the Sports Car Club of America for 3 years running, and currently the 4th largest class by participation overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a central location, and that way you can avoid the large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. And of course, want to remind everybody watching about the great offer that Grass Paddock Motorsports is providing to our racers in the T4 class, in the Jettas, and it is their Sim to Track initiative. They are going to be giving away, Grass Paddock is going to be giving away 2 what they call arrive and drive packages. One is going to be for a current road racing license holder to race in a Sports Car Club of America or Grid Life or NASA type event. And then for a non-competition license holder, the opportunity to take one of the Grass Paddock Motorsports minis and go to gain their real life competition license so that they can race in real life here in the future. These packages are going to be given away at the end of the calendar year, and it is going to be based on clean racing, performance improvement, as well as participation. 3 judge panel will be providing those awards again, as I mentioned, at the end of the year. It's going to be Frank Schwartz from Grass Paddock Motorsports, Stevie Ray from Ray Esports Racing, and myself. So good luck to all of our Jetta drivers here this season and this year, and hopefully we'll get to see you on track. As the pace car now bringing our 2 fields, our 2 touring car fields down the Andretti hairpin. You can see there the GR86 Cup cars, the Touring 3 class. They have separated themselves out by quite a bit from the Jettas. The Jettas will have a separate start, and looks like Corey Heffron lagging behind just a little bit. Hopefully this 5-car field will grid up a little more tightly. Would hate to see their start waved off here, Jack.
Yeah, that's definitely something you don't want to see, but I think he's catching up right now. Here we go.
Yeah.
And we got 5 cars for the GR86s to come down and get the start here. They got a good little gap to the Jettas as well, so they should be able to get some really good racing in.
That's right. So pace car on the pit lane, and green flag is in the air for the GR86s. Beans Forster looking to get the 2-peat tonight in that blue and yellow machine. The 231 car slots down the inside, going around the outside. Andrew Wozencroft in the white number 80 machine as our Jettas now get underway. And Jack, it looks like one of our Jetta racers had some issues coming out of the final corner, and I think that was Jacob Schilling. We'll have to check in with him a little bit later. But the 2 Delta Sport teammates of Burkhardt and Schooler jumping out to an early advantage over Skip Brock Jr. and Megan Overstreet. Overstreet already having made up 3 positions, Yoshikawa 4, as they're now heading down the hill into turn 4. This is for the GR86s. They came through turn 4. They're heading up to the Moss hairpin now for the very first time.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too in practice that we saw both of these classes running pretty similar laps, but I'm not sure if the Jettas are going to be able to catch the back end of those Toyotas, but if they do, that could be interesting too, because these Jettas, while looks are deceiving, are surprisingly quick.
They are. You know, again, the biggest issue you have with them is understeer, which I don't think is going to be that big of an issue here at CTMP, where you've got, again, some very big sweeping corners that are in many cases helped by their camber, and they are incredibly quick, faster than the Toyotas in a straight line coming down this long back straight. So we, as you mentioned, very similar lap times in qualifying. We'll see how they do in race conditions as Wan Chi Lin in the number 30 machine, that gray machine just coming through turn 9, looking to make up some ground on Megan Overstreet in the pink, or actually purple, number 044 machine. Again, right now, Overstreet, she is your championship leader, but currently sitting back in 4th position.
Yeah, she has her work cut out for her a little bit tonight, I think, with Morgan and Giancarlo Schooler both in this field. I mean, those guys are really, really fast as we see them up front every single race. But if she's able to go up there and battle with them, she's battling with the best of the best. So hopefully she can get up there and have something, as we have someone taking a look back here, trying to pass for position. Looks like Seth Spolman throwing it to the inside out of South Korea, as you mentioned. Throwing it inside of Michael Snow and trying to hold it on the outside. Doesn't look like he's able to, and Michael Snow retains the position. We come back and look at the Toyotas here, and looks like Beans is pulling away just a little bit as Wozencroft and Pocock are trying to work together, but it's not working out so far.
Yeah, it looks as though they are trying to work together, move up through the draft, and get back up to the 231 machine. Again, Pocock currently running 2nd in the championship, and finished 2nd last week at, probably 2 weeks ago, at Watkins Glen, the last round for our touring cars. As they come out of the final corner, they're completing lap number 2, starting lap number 3, and that last time by, Beans Forster was almost 0.6 of a second faster than both Wozencroft and Pocock.
I think it's tough too if you're not really familiar with the Toyota to hop in the car after the last race, because you don't get that hour and a half of practice or so. You hop into the qualifying for 10, 15 minutes and then you're in the race. So if you're not really familiar with the car, you're at a massive disadvantage, and I think that's what we're seeing in these cars tonight.
All right, now, ooh, look at the dive coming down the inside. That's Murphy Nichols. So he did join the session in that Burgundy number 5 machine. He gets around Seth Spolman, who now finds himself back a couple more positions. Let's see here, 1, 2, 3, and we got it sitting there right on the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, as Spolman now finds himself back in 9th position.
Yeah, and it looks like Murphy Nichols is determined to try to make his way up. He's already up to 8th, and we have Corey Heffron in the pits. He was running a little bit off the pace. We'll have to see what happened to him, but he was running 4th or 5th, and all of a sudden he's in the pits. That's not good.
No, that is not good. That's going to leave us now with 4 cars. Let's take a look. I think we've got the replay queued up here, and we'll take a look at the number 52 machine as he comes down the hill through turn 4, and he sets up for the Moss hairpin. Oh, that'll do it.
Yeah, I think he was struggling in practice and qualifying as well. I think he was one of those ones that we mentioned that's not really familiar with the car, and you don't get that practice that you get with the other class, and mistakes like that
and we can see there, and that was it appears, Jack, as though he may have had some suspension failure as he went over the inside of the curbing. You know, the curbing at racetracks usually not meant for the cars to come from the inside out to the track. It's the other way around. And you know, the Toyotas are known for some very odd bounces and jumps going over curbing, but it was noticeable once he started to get the car back underway after he came to a complete stop that car was crabbing quite a bit. So it looks like he broke something, and so he is now out and back on track. Jacob Schilling, who again we think had, I think he spun coming out of the final corner. Yeah, let's take a look here. This is just before the green flag actually came out for the Jet. Well, this is actually going to be his second incident. Here, let's take a look, and here we go. All right, so this is the start of the race, and Jacob Schilling here up. You can see contact with Wan Chi Lin and bounces off the wall. That put him into the pits, and a lap down just to start things off. And then looks like he had some more issues over it a little bit later, and he is now sitting I believe 3 laps down from our other racers. And let's take a look here. All right, there we go. As we come back, I think, to live action. Well, we're trying to get back to live action here, as we're on board with Morgan Burkhardt and Giancarlo Schooler. Here we go. We're going to do fast forward.
If only the Jettas were that fast, right?
This is the fastest I've ever seen a Jetta race. Look at that. They're flying. There we go. Now we're back to live action. There we go. Excellent. And look at Skip Brock Jr. in that yellow number 68 machine. He's starting to reel in our 2 leaders. Remember, Skip Brock Jr. had been sitting second fastest in qualifying until Burkhardt was able to tow Giancarlo Schooler around, and he is definitely getting into this fight now, only about 3 car lengths back, a little bit further back from our top 3. Nagase Yoshikawa runs wide, taps the wall. That's going into the Moss hairpin, and he is now going to give up 4 positions. That is going to now move Wan Chi Lin up into 8th, Michael Snow, Murphy Nichols, Seth Spolman, Nagase Yoshikawa. He's now going to fall all the way back to 13th. Should also mention there in that, I think a little bit further back from that pack, Megan Overstreet, who had been running up in 4th position in the Jettas. She now finds herself considerably further back. She is now in 8th position, leading this group of drivers into turn number 8 into the S's.
Yeah, I think when we were reviewing that replay, she had an incident as well. So whoever is in that 4th place in the T4s really doesn't want to keep it, it looks like.
No, that's not the place to be.
No. We come back to the Toyotas, and these guys are battling really hard for P2 as Beans Foresters. kind of checked out, I think.
Yeah, he's got about
4
almost
seconds.
a 4-second advantage now over Wozencroft and Pocock there, running second and third overall, as Forster just has to keep his head down at this point. We're not even halfway through the race, but pretty substantial lead there. As we jump back to the action in the Jettas, and it's Wanchi Lin in the gray machine, the gray number 30, with Michael Snow in the green 077, Murphy Nichols in the burgundy machine, and then Seth Spolman in the yellow 42, as these racers now are making their way up towards the Moss hairpin here on lap number 6.
And it's interesting, too, because Lynn was up front in the last race, like battling with the leaders the whole race. And in this one, he finds himself about 8 seconds back of the lead group, battling back here with these guys. So I wonder if it's another one of them things where he just isn't familiar with the car very much. And, you know, he hops in it, and this is what it gives him.
And we learn as we race, and I think that's basically it. Wanchi Lin, he's noted spec racer Ford specialist, and in the last I'd say year and a half or so, he's put in a lot of time in the MX-5s and the spec Miatas and picked up speed. But I believe this is one of the, if I remember correctly, this is his first season running in the Jettas. It's a steep learning curve. I mean, some people, and Morgan Burkhardt, he picks it up very quickly. He races a front-wheel drive car in real life, in addition to a spec racer Ford. You know, for some people, it's a very difficult technique, you know, in order to figure out how to get a car to rotate, how and when to trail brake, in order to help get the car to rotate. And, you know, the Jettas in their own right are just very pushy cars.
Yeah, and it's also tough, too, because as we talked about, they're very quiet. And a lot of the drivers, myself included, we use, you know, the sound to, you know when we're gear changing and things like that. And in these cars, you can't really hear anything other than the tires. So
no, and even as you bounce off the rev limiter, you can't really hear it.
Yeah.
It's you basically you look down at the dashboard and go, oh, that entire row of red lights has been on for 5 seconds. I must be bouncing off the rev limiter.
Yeah. And when your miles per hour isn't going up anymore, you're like, okay, I should probably do something to fix that.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, when you only have like a 3,500 RPM red line to begin with, it's kind of tough. And by the way, we had Trenton Kramer jump into the chat, and Trenton said, yeah, it's such a cool. This is the Sim to Track initiative from Grass Paddock Motorsports. Definitely a cool offer there. Now look at this. The teacher becomes the student, maybe, as we've got Giancarlo Schooler and Morgan Burkhardt side by side going through the S's with not Caleb Pocock, with Skip Brock Jr. there, as well as Skip Brock Jr. is now pulled up with the in that battle for the lead, and now they are 3 wide coming out of 1, heading down the hill into turn 2.
Yeah, they're racing really hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if old Giancarlo gives him a little bump, gives Morgan a little bump, because last week on the broadcast when Giancarlo won, Morgan said all he didn't have a life, and he just played soccer and iRacing, so we'll see if he yeah, we'll see if he maybe like retaliates just a little bit tonight for this win.
Oh my. And you saw there going down through turn 2 Skip Brock Jr. got pushed a little bit wide, and not physically pushed, but was a little bit wide going into turn 2. How much slip angle those Jettas got, and he was in a 4-wheel drift, and the car just finally hooked up as he was coming to the very edge of the pavement. And that is really, again, going in, especially here at turn 8, is an area of the track where it can be very challenging for the Jettas. As we watch this battle for second, as Caleb Pocock now gets around Andrew Wozencroft. He's going to take over second position in the Touring 3 class in those GR86s, and he ran wide coming out of the final corner, but Andrew Wozencroft not able to do anything about it.
No, these two have been battling the whole race as well. Kind of just battling for P2, going back and forth, and I'm sure they're having a blast, especially Caleb. He's had a rough one this season. He had a rough one earlier tonight, so I'm sure battling for second in that class has to feel really good. We come back to the leaders, and it's the 3 of them still stinking up the show a little bit. We haven't had a crazy battle like we did in the last race, but it doesn't mean we won't. We still have 7 minutes left to go.
We'll see here now as we've got Skip Brock Jr. He takes a look to the inside on Giancarlo Schooler as they came into turn number 2, got back in line as Schooler went to cover the apex. Could have gotten very ugly there if Skip Brock had continued that push up the inside. As here they make their way out. But I'll tell you, Jack, on the last lap when they were like 3 wide going down into turn 2, and not even a rub of the sheet metal. I think we're seeing again these racers that they really know how to race with respect, and they've got great car control that they can be, literally inches off the door right next to them.
Yeah, it helps a lot when you have that trust in the other person, especially on sim racing, because, real life racing, you have to have that as well, much more indeed, because, of the safety issues and all of that entails on top of everything. But in sim racing, it's tough because in the public lobbies in iRacing and in any racing game, for instance, it's tough to gain that trust because you've never raced with them before.
You never raced the person, yeah, you don't know who they are.
So when you come in a league like this, and all of these guys, I think, race each other in real life as well, is on sim racing, it provides good racing like that because they trust each other. So it's a fun show for us.
Indeed. All right, as we're now just a touch over 5 minutes remaining here in this 20-minute sprint race from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We're watching the battle for the lead in the T4 class, and it is Morgan Burkhardt who, for the moment, has opened up about a 2-car length advantage over Giancarlo Schooler and Skip Brock Jr. And Schooler and Skip Brock, they haven't really been able to close up to Morgan just because of the amount of battling that they've done. But that draft is kind of keeping Burkhardt honest. That still, even with the fighting, Schooler and Skip Brock Jr. not losing any more than maybe a car length or so to Burkhardt.
No, and it'll be interesting to see if they kind of work together when it comes to the last few laps to try to draft past him. They really haven't tried to do that yet, but if they do try to do it, I wonder how it'll work out.
All right, here we go. This is now the battle for 4th, just off the podium. Wan Shi-Lin, this was at one point a 4-car fight. It is Wan Shi-Lin in the number 30 machine. He currently holds 4th position. He's got Murphy Nichols directly behind Michael Snow, starting to close things up now as Nichols is able to pull out in the draft side by side. You can see a little bit of that smoke in the air from Wan Shi-Lin's exhaust as they're coming down into turn 8 and sweeping around from the outside. Can he get the car to rotate? Well, he just disappeared into the shadow realm for a second there, but Murphy Nichols takes over 4th position here in T4.
He sent it to the outside too, and it stuck. Wow. What a move. That's pretty hard to do, and he was able to do it. So, hey, P4 is what it's worth. We come back up front, and these two are still battling really hard, and I think they're letting Morgan get away just a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And as I say that, they're kind of closing in on him right here. I don't know if Morgan maybe slipped or what.
Well, the draft on these Jettas is so strong, and you don't have to necessarily be in a straight line for it to take effect. You look at these cars; they're just very wide, they're very tall, and they put a giant hole in the air as they're going to come up into the Moss hairpin. And for a moment there, Schooler taking a look to the inside on the 40 car, but not far enough alongside. And I'll tell you who's got the best seat in the house right now. That is Wayne Buttermore, currently running 4th in the Toyotas, and he's just sitting back and watching this fight unfold directly in front of him.
Yeah, he's got the best view in the house. I think he has a better view than us right now. He's able to see everything.
I was going to say, he might be the best camera that Lee there back pushing all the buttons has. All right, now Schooler comes up alongside Burkhardt. That's going to push Burkhardt wide into 8. He gets the car to rotate. Schooler does as well. Schooler grabs a little bit of curbing there. Oh, and maybe a little touch as they come through turn 9 and set up for the final corner.
Yeah, they're still side by side coming out of the. Oh man, they just go back and forth because of those last few turns. But I think Schooler's going to have the advantage going into turn 1. He does. He's on the inside. Wow, He was
Now,
able
it's
to make
going
it
to
stick.
switch back the other way in just a moment, but if it's Burkhardt, you're not going to want to be all the way over driver's left going into turn 2. It's going to make the entry very, very difficult, but somehow he gets the car to rotate. But we saw Schooler, who was hung out all the way to the outside. He concedes now second position to Skip Brock Jr. He's your new second-place runner, and he's locked right to the rear bumper of Burkhardt.
Yeah, he took advantage of that mistake by Giancarlo and is able to be right on the back bumper of Morgan here, and we'll see if he's able to take advantage of it. I'm not really sure if he has the pace to do it, but he's been hanging in there the whole race, so we'll find out. This draft is really strong on the backstretch, but it'll be interesting to see if Giancarlo will go with him. I'm not sure if he will.
And Giancarlo caught a whole bunch of curbing there at the apex of the hairpin over at 5B. And he's now, you can see, he's lost about 4 car lengths on the exit. We talked early on, Jack, about how critical getting a good exit out of Moss was as he came onto this long back straight. And I think that exudes it right there as Giancarlo Schooler maybe even dropped out of the draft as they head into the S's here over at turn number 8. And when they come onto the front straight, they're going to be starting lap number 12, probably lap number 13, lucky 13, with less than a minute to go. And the white flag is in the air here at Mosport. We are on the last lap, I believe, as Forster now, well, we'll have to see. Forster, who's our overall leader, he's now just about halfway through this lap. He's coming onto the hairpin. If he gets up to the line in less than 30 seconds, we'll have one more lap. And I didn't see whether the white flag was in the air.
I think I saw the flag man waving it, but I'm not really sure. It's kind of hard here to see with the camera angle. You can kind of see his arm,
it's kind of hidden really by that pedestrian bridge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, there are only 12 seconds remaining. We're continuing to follow this fight in the Jettas. We'll have to pick up our overall leader in just a moment. He should be coming into the S's, and yeah, he is going to get the checkered flag. No more laps for Beans Forster, but he doesn't need any. He started off on pole. He comes across out of turn number 10, right up to the wall, and taking the win, taking his second win in a row. Beans Forster taking the win in T3 as we watch this battle now in T4 unfold. They've come out of the Moss hairpin. Skip Brock Jr., he's going to take a look to the inside, coming into turn 8 on Morgan Burkhardt. It's going to swap back to driver's left here in a moment. And and there's contact. And Skip Brock Jr., he gathers it back up, but he loses a bunch of momentum coming through the final corner. Giancarlo Schooler, he's there just ready to pounce, but as they come to the line, taking the win in the Jettas, Morgan Burkhardt, margin of victory is 111 thousandths, 11 tenths. Oh wow, look at this. This is Murphy Nichols, who had been running up as high as 4th position. He's on his side, he's on his door before he ever gets to the checkered flag, Jack.
I think him and Lynn had an incident or something on the last lap because Lynn finished in 8th and looks like, wow, I don't know, because Megan Overstreet ended up finishing 4th, which is a good points night for her after that.
Yeah, and she had been all the way back in 9th position at one point when we checked in with her. So it's a Burkhardt Schooler. Yeah, let's see if we can pick up and see exactly what happened here. And you're right, Wanchi Lin and Murphy Nichols, they get together coming through
stuck.
turn 8.
Oh no!
Oh my! And it looks like, and it looked like, wow! It looked like the Fox car, or probably the Michael Snow car, was involved with that as well. Wow, and Wanchi Lin just manages to finally get the car up and running there, but it loses a number of positions at the end. So let's take a look at the final finishing order. Beans Forster, your winner in the Toyotas with Andrew Wozencroft second. He holds off Caleb Pocock, who will come in 3rd. Wayne Buttermore, our camera car, will come home in 4th position. And unfortunately, Corey Heffron had to retire early after only 2 laps. In the Volkswagens, taking the win, Morgan Burkhardt over Giancarlo Schooler. Skip Brock will finish 3rd. As you mentioned, Megan Overstreet finishes in 4th with Snow 5th. Then Nagase Yoshikawa, Seth Spolman, Wanchi Lin falls all the way back to 11th position with Derek Marcos, Wayne Buttermore Gary Winters and Josh Justice, who had his early battles tonight, and Murphy Nichols finishes in 16th, a lap down. All right, so let's take a look here. I think, Jack, we've got some of our podium finishers. They're all lined up and ready to go. I'll tell you what, why don't we start off with the Toyotas, and we're going to talk to Andrew Wozencroft, finishing second tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Andrew, walk me through that battle that you had with Caleb the whole race, because you guys were battling really hard there.
Yeah, Caleb actually drove really, really well. He's been practicing with Weekend Warriors. I know he's doing a lot of driving. Probably not making his wife too happy, but it's definitely showing. So I had a lot of fun with him. Unfortunately, I think he got a little bit of the curb on the hairpin at the top, and so I was scared about him coming on me on the very last lap. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys had a really good battle, but Beans was able to pull away there. Is there anything that you could have done differently, maybe to try to run him down?
Oh, Beans was flying, and I was happy to be able to talk to him on the race or during the race, and he was just saying be smooth on the brakes, just let the car flow. It's a lot easier said than done, but he drove really well. I was pleased. I was happy to be able to pretty much go untouched. So there was a little incident in the first race, but I felt I had a decent speed. But overall, it was a great time, and yeah, I appreciate it. It was fun.
Awesome. Is there anybody that you would like to thank this week?
Yeah, definitely want to always thank my parents for watching, my kids for letting me hang out with them and use the internet. But I want to do a shout out to Murphy Nichols. I unfortunately had an accident at work, and he cut his hand, and he drove both races with only one hand. And I think the last 5 minutes or 2 minutes, his body gave up on him. So great showing, and he's definitely a trooper for coming out.
Oh wow.
Wow, that is pretty crazy. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for putting on a great show tonight. We'll see you next week.
Hey, thank you to both you and the ART, to the TV and everyone, and the hosts, and I should say to the sponsors. But thanks, guys. See you soon.
Cool. Thanks so much to Andrew Wozencroft, driver of the number 80 machine. And let's talk to, for the second time, actually, you know what? He's not here to talk to for a second time tonight, so we're just going to pretend like he doesn't exist. All right, let's do this. Without Beans Forster here, we've got our three Jetta drivers. Let's start off with, and finishing third tonight in the Jettas, Skip Brock Jr.
Yep, you had a really good run tonight and was running P2 with a chance to win when you had a little bit of contact, it looked like, in the last couple corners. Walk us through that.
Yeah, I had to go for it there. That was pretty much the only opportunity I would have, and I tried to hang around the outside. And I mean, it was tiny contact, but it just happened to be tire to tire, so I kind of got jumped up into the air, and it was just really unfortunate. But because I don't know who would have come out. I mean, I was going to have the inside in the last corner, but it would have been a close finish, I think. But I just handed it back to Giancarlo for sure.
We were kind of talking throughout the whole race of how much we thought that the Jetta was really hard to turn, and things like that. Maybe not at this track as much, but how difficult was it to drive tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I would say actually I expected it to be really strange on this track because it's these wide sweeping corners just don't fit this car in my mind. But honestly, it drove fine. If you trail brake properly into the corners and maybe use a little bit of curbing to get it rotated, it felt pretty good to me, and pretty much everywhere. I was really surprised, actually.
Nice. Was there anybody you'd like to thank this week?
Yeah, the usual. My parents, they might be watching. They love watching these races.
He does nothing but play soccer and go on iRacing. It's Giancarlo Schooler.
Yeah, after hearing those comments from Morgan last week, how bad did you want to give him a little bump for that victory?
Yeah, I mean, me and Morgan, we're great friends, and we love sharing the track together. So it's always great being out there with him, and I think we put on a great show tonight. So it was tons of fun.
Yeah, you guys put on a great show for us. I mean, that whole top three battle was pretty epic. That whole race. Walk us through what you were thinking there.
Yeah, I initially thought that me and Morgan were going to be able to break away, and, it was just going to be us fighting for the finish. But Skip had amazing pace throughout the race and was able to stay with us, and eventually got by me at one point in the race. And at that point, I was kind of just playing the long game, trying to be there at the end. So I let him battle out with Morgan for a few laps, and then I got him just to the line there.
Alrighty. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank this week?
I'd like to thank the guys over at Delta Sport, Race EPI. Thank you to Morgan and Skip for the great race. Thank you to everybody at Race Esports for putting this on. Thank you to you, Jack and Greg, for the great commentary tonight. And thank you to my friends, family, and parents for supporting me.
Alrighty, well, we appreciate you putting on the show like you do every week, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Giancarlo Schooler finishing second tonight in the Jettas. And finally, well, might as well bring him in again here tonight because he hasn't gotten all of his booth time in this evening, Jack. Let's bring in Morgan Burkhardt, winner tonight in the Volkswagen Jettas.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you really took a week off of the booth either, because, I mean, this is the second time we've interviewed you tonight, so walk us through another victory.
Well, this one was definitely a lot simpler than the MX-5. I actually didn't win that race, but this whole race was a lot easier to play. The draft wasn't as powerful, so you could kind of get away with a slightly smaller gap and not have to fight it into the final corners. But it was pretty much, I'm not actually sure what happened at the beginning, but JC and I had like a second and a half gap back to Skip when I looked back at the relative at a turn 2. But I mean, Skip did a really good job of staying in the draft and clocking out laps and coming back up to us. And unfortunate that we had a small touch in the S's on the final lap, but that's the problem with this car, is that it's on the old damage model for iRacing, so it has some really wacky contacts, and if you get wheel to wheel, it'll just spit cars in seemingly random directions.
Yeah, it seemed like that's what happened, but you guys all had a really good battle tonight, so at least you had that, and you know, can't ask for much more. So is there anybody you'd like to thank again tonight?
I'd definitely like to thank my parents, of course, for making all this possible, supporting me, and you know, giving me everything, all the tools that I need to succeed. The rest of the team with All Sports and Delta Sport for making everything really enjoyable as well. So, and of course, I gotta thank you guys, you know, for making us all look good, making us all look real nice and purty on the stream. So thank you guys.
Alrighty, well, thank you, and we will see you next week. Thank you for putting on a show once again, like you do every week.
Well, thank you.
All right, everybody, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt finishing with the win tonight in Touring 4. So, Jack, why don't we get ready to wrap things up here, as we're right about at the top of the hour. And, you know, as I said at the top of the show, if you really have a Jonesin for Spec Racer Fords, join us next week as the Spec Racer Fords and the touring cars, they're going to return. We're going to be heading to the National Park of Speed, going to be going to Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and the virtual Road America. And I've got a lot of work at Road America next week, both in the virtual world and the real world. And should also mention, if you're going to be towards the end of next week, if you're going to be at Road America for the June sprints, come and say hi. I'll be over in the media center. And then in 2 weeks, June 27th, Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to be at Circuit of the Americas, our Spec Racer Fords once again, and the Mazda MX-5s. And we're going to be taking some time off the following week for the 4th of July. So for Jack Ritchie, for Lee Thompson, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we'll see you next Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.